Is global sanctions growth an accident or a systemic process creating ongoing pressures for international businesses like yours? You are an international business owner, relying on global supply chains, trade partners, and cross-border payments, believing open markets and fair competition will drive growth. But what if sanctions contribute to mechanisms that increase costs and fragment trade? Today, we're analyzing global sanctions, the macroeconomic mechanisms of trade restrictions that influence international businesses through visibility and policy transmission. The data reveals the truth unmistakably. Over 14,000 sanctions imposed since 2022, U.S. Treasury OFAC data, with swift exclusions and secondary measures affecting thousands of firms, while global trade costs rise 20 to 30% on restricted routes. Stay with me to the end. This isn't isolated events. It's the clear analysis and path to financial independence that could help navigate these pressures. The explanation provided and experienced by international business owners like you is that sanctions are targeted tools for security, affecting only specific actors while leaving legitimate trade intact. That collateral effects are limited. Markets adapt over time. But look closer. Why do sanctions cascade through supply chains, raising costs, blocking payments, disrupting unrelated firms? Why do secondary measures influence neutral parties? Why does security policy raise questions when trade fragments? Insight 1. The system doesn't need total blockade to increase costs. It only needs partial restrictions to raise trade expenses over time. This isn't isolated events or unavoidable geopolitics. It's a systemic process rooted in restriction mechanisms that influence trade through policy transmission. The global sanctions aren't just targeted. It's the mechanism that affects business outcomes. Russia 2022. Swift exclusion, asset freezes, thousands of firms impacted. Iran, Venezuela patterns repeated. The result? Trade reroutes at higher costs, supply chains adjust. For your business believing global markets open, the reality is clear. The mechanisms have been in place, influencing outcomes over time. Intriguing? Yes. But who are the key players in this sanctions process? Who are the key players in this sanctions process? So you know you're not missing the bigger picture. It's not abstract geopolitics alone. It's governments and financial institutions who shape outcomes through restriction policies. Picture them as established participants in the global system, implementing measures while you, managing international trade, navigate the resulting pressures. The process works through transmission channels. Restrictions flow to targets. Secondary effects reach neutrals. Institutions comply. Costs rise. The businesses feel effects later: higher expenses, disrupted flows. Deep dive, post-2022, Russia trade reroutes via intermediaries at premiums. Shipping insurance up significantly. Real-world impact. Businesses adjust routes, raise prices, reduce margins. While policy supports goals. It's continuing. Current signals, new packages expanding, secondary measures growing, shock process ongoing. Saifedean and Amus notes, sanctions accelerate alternative systems. Lynn Alden notes, restrictions fragment established flows. Insight 2. Trade doesn't stop overnight. It reroutes gradually as restrictions create new paths over time. History's pattern is clear Cold War embargoes, post-9/11 measures. These players shape outcomes as business costs face sustained pressure. But understanding the process is the first step gaining clarity. Now explore the mechanisms at the core global sanctions process, so you see exactly how it affects international businesses building globally. It starts with policy goals. Targets require restrictions, payments blocked, assets frozen. Cycle continues. Secondary measures influence neutrals. Compliance costs rise. Visibility activates. Supply chains disrupted. Alternatives sought. Institutions adjust. Flows shift. Businesses pay with higher expenses, timing later. Everyday impact. Shipping costs increase, insurance limited, contracts delayed. History shows pattern. Cuba, embargo long-term. Iran, oil reroutes. Current signals indicate continuation. Measures expanding, trade fragmentation growing. There's Insight 3. The system doesn't require complete isolation to burden businesses. It only needs selective restrictions to raise operational costs consistently. Lynn Alden notes, sanctions create parallel networks. Milton Friedman, protectionism harms the protector. Insight 4. Business resilience isn't avoiding restrictions. It's adapting to sustained shifts in trade incentives. The process isn't isolated. It's systemic, influencing business opportunities over time. Think of it as trade flow, your global operations navigating broader currents. But here's the pivotal shift. You don't have to remain affected by this global sanctions process. Stop navigating as part of restricted current. Adopt the independent mindset, understand the mechanisms, then position strategically. Conventional approach, comply fully, reroute trade, leaves you in the flow. Your costs influenced before fully realized. Redirect instead, question every security measure narrative. The clarity comes realizing expenses rise from restriction mechanisms, gain independence, auditing exposure to single jurisdiction flows. Insight 5. Protection isn't predicting policy. It's diversifying beyond restricted channels. How much business in vulnerable routes? Shift to independence. Preservation outside processes reach. History shows affected stay in current. Independent, thrive building resilient networks across cycles. Practical step. Diversify partners, prioritize assets resisting blockade. Insight 6. True business independence isn't confrontation. It's positioning where restrictions impact less. You're no longer in the flow. You're the one charting course in fragmented waters. This isn't avoidance, it's pure clarity. You're positioned to turn mechanisms to advantage, emerging stronger from pressures. This is your initiation into true clarity, the deliberate path to financial independence from global sanctions mechanisms affecting international businesses. None of this is financial, investment, or trading advice. It's purely educational macroeconomic analysis for awareness. Always do your own research and form your own conclusions. Bitcoin is digital gold, limited to 21 million coins forever, halving every 4 years. No one can print more. Impossible to confiscate like 1933 gold. History has proven it outperforms every traditional asset class during fiat stress cycles, with multifold appreciation post-halving, such as over 10 times gains after the 2020 event amid unprecedented printing. The 2024 halving cut new supply issuance in half again, with 94% already mined, making it increasingly scarce over time, the only asset truly immune to inflation by design. In eras of trade fragmentation like today, this fixed supply property has positioned it as the ultimate tool for wealth protection, preserving value when flows are restricted. Start your initiation. Read The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Ammous for the fiat parallels that will blow your mind, or The Sovereign Individual by James Dale Davidson, mapping the shift to individual sovereignty. Follow thinkers like Ben Cowan for cycle data, Lynn Alden for macro signals. It is actionable, self-custody wallet, consistent dollar-cost averaging into Bitcoin as your restriction-resistant anchor. This is the key to viewing money as your servant, not master. If this analysis has brought clarity, the drive to secure true independence, commit now to the next layer. Subscribe as your mark of joining this community of financial clarity seekers decoding the system together. The next insight is waiting.